welcome to Friday Night Live 8. It's a bit noisy down here. We're on the beach, we've got the surf rolling in, but I thought we'd bring it on the road this time and see what's happening. So welcome everyone. I see a few people here now already. Welcome. Say g'day Warren. See you there. Can everyone hear me all right? That'd be a good heads up. It's the first time on the beach, on location, if you like. So yes. So we're down here talking about the. And I thought we'd have a bit of a chat about beach detecting tonight. Nadia's here. G'day Nadia, how you going? Yes, Teresa, I'm actually not in store. I haven't been in store all week. I've had a week off after the busy Christmas period. I'll be back in there on Monday, so that's good that the audio is great. Thanks for that, Warren. Good to see you. We had I don't know whether anyone subscribes to it, but Garrett do a really good finds of the month newsletter that come out, and the Searcher, the Garrett Searcher. G'day Michael. It's g'day David, how are you going? Mick's here. Hello Mick, the young guns. They do a really good Searcher newsletter, and it came out today, and there was some good finds in there from some of the Garrett machines. An ATX just recently got 3 pieces of gold in Western Australia with I think it was 72 grams, just big gold nuggets. One of them looked like the size of a fish, sort of thing. So. Teresa's been stealing business cards by sound. Thanks, Teresa. You're more than welcome for business cards. So, if you've got any questions about beach detecting, we're right here. Later on, if we can manage it, we might even go down into the surf. And if I can see if I can throw some light down there and see how that goes. And just behind me, I'm not sure whether you can see it there. I'll just stand out of the road. That's Surfers Paradise there. You won't be able to see it, but there's probably a light shining on the beach there. That's out the front of the Sheridan, and where Versace is, or the beach that Versace uses. G'day Rodney, how are we going? Dig for Treasure is here as well. So that's sort of one of my late night haunts down that way. But realistically, you have to leave it to late at night for down there. It gets very, very populated. So, very populated down that way. Like I think Sheridan's got a restaurant on the beach, and I feel a bit uncomfortable going down there while people are eating their dinner. We've got a couple of fishermen up here, and they're fishing in a little gutter here. And people wandering by, but that's all good. There's 3 or 4 fishing boats out off the coast here, so yeah, all good. G'day Joshua, how are you? Dig for Treasure's about to head out. I've got the phone here for the comments, so if I'm looking down, that's what I'm looking at. So g'day Henry, how are you? So let's talk about beach detecting. The trick, and if you've got any questions, just sing out. That's what I'm here to do. One thing's amazing, and you won't be able to see this, but right above my head, from the I think it's from the New Year's Eve celebrations down here on the Gold Coast, they've got all these lights shining up on the clouds, so it's like a UFO's about to land on top of my head here. But anyway, so if you've got any questions about beach detecting, or just general detecting, I had some questions about what tools I use, what gear I use to take with me, and we might do a big subject on that next week. yeah, so we might do a big subject on that. But what I thought I'd do is show you these, what I use on the beach myself, and just general beach questions. So if we start off when we look at the whole beach, g'day Nicole, Robin's here as well. We look at the whole beach and we think about how the beach is being used. Up high on the beach, people are sitting with their towels, and what you'd expect to find there is a whole stack of recent drop coins, even on the way down to the into the path down onto the beach. You get a lot of recent drop stuff, car keys and gold coins and that sort of thing. So as you come further down the beach, you tend to find, I find that there's a zone on the beach where you don't find much at all, sort of between sort of the high tide mark and the low tide mark. So there's normally not a hell of a lot there. But then when you get down into and low tide's the time to come on any beach, because what it does is it exposes that sand low down to the really, really close to the water that's normally covered. Now, a big advantage of that is when you think about people going for a swim, right? Normally the water's colder than the air, so when they go in, your fingers shrink and rings fall off. You get tossed around by the wave, things fall out of your pockets. So that's the beauty of the low tide, that low tide area right down hard on the beach. There's a lot more activity there. Normally people are walking from their towels to the water with not much on them. It's when they get to the water is when they lose the gear. So who have we got here? Marcus is here. Keen on trying detecting. Best way to do this, I'm surrounded by beaches. Well, I'm not sure what state you're in, but we're looking at doing some detecting days on the beach next year. So that's a good opportunity to try it out. The other thing is too, if you buy a reasonable quality machine like a $300-400 machine, give that a go. And if you buy a good brand name like Garrett, like Minelab, like some of those good brands, even Bounty Hunter stuff's not bad. If you buy some of those good brands, the resale value on them is excellent. You know, you might buy a $300 machine, use it for 6 months, decide, oh, I'm not using that anymore. You probably get $200 back for it. So that's a good way to get into it. So now, Marcus is in Townsville. Townsville, some of those North Queensland beaches are a bit different, simply because of the stingers up there, and this varies all the way along the coast. So you get a lot of stingers up that way. So during winter, there's not a lot of activity in the water. So you'd be more looking for recent drops, people that are just going down to the beach, and sometimes there's parties on beaches and festivals and all that sort of thing. So that would, in winter, you'd have to look at it that way. And there's often quite good detecting on some of those islands that have never ever seen a detector. So that's always something to think about as well. If you're out in the boat, you spot an island, and everyone always goes there. That's always a really good thing. Rodney says I should have a rod in the water. So there's a lot of people actually fishing along here when I look, and there's a few headlamps kicking around. So that would be one thing I would say. Down south is probably pretty similar, where the water's icy cold. A lot of people are more sitting on beaches rather than swimming in the winter time. So we probably have it fairly lucky here on the in places like southeast Queensland and Perth and those more subtropical environments. We don't have the problem with the stingers. but we also, you know, it's still warm enough to go for a swim, or a lot of people still swim in winter. So that's a huge advantage for us anyway. But yeah, you've got to think about how people use the beach. That's the biggest key. So if there's people, you know, if they're having a beach festival, you know, full moon parties up in Townsville, that sort of thing, are always really good. Magnetic Island, I know there's a full moon party on Magnetic Island. That's always worthwhile. You know, I've never really tried to detect it, but you know, on every month, I'm sure there's stuff dropped. So you got to think about how people use the beach, and it's when they go into that cold water that the rings drop, and they will concentrate in certain wave zones on the beach. So you're really looking for hollows in the beach. Quite often, and I mentioned this last week, but quite often when I go to a beach, I will go up and down the beach rather than along the beach. The reason I do that with a new beach is because I want to know where things are sitting on the beach, what level of the beach as you go down into the water that the heavy stuff, the rings, the coins, that sort of thing are sitting. Sure, every beach has got that high where the towels are and the recent drops, but you don't quite know, you never quite know where where they're sitting until you get a bit of experience with the beach. So I like to come down to low tide and do that work up and down the beach until I start finding it. And then you're looking for depressions in the water, in the sand. Quite often, you know, if you've been to the beach and you're walking along the beach and all of a sudden you drop into a hole, that's the spot that a lot of those heavies will collect. The other thing to keep your eye out for is you will see patches on the, when you're walking, hard to do at night, but when you're walking ankle deep or knee deep in the water, you'll see patches where coarse shell, broken up shell, or coarse sand sits. That's often where the heavies will sit in there. So that's always a couple of good spots. Yeah, Rodney, gutters are good. They tend to get fairly deep fairly quickly, but if you're using a waterproof machine, quite often I'll want to swim. If I go for a bit of a snorkel, I'll be on the outside edge of those gutters, because normally you'll see a lot of shell and that sort of thing deposited straight off the back of that, where the waves are coming over the top, just along that inside edge, like the outside edge of the gutter. So, but gutters are, that's exactly right. The other thing you'll notice on the beach, and it might be a bit hard to explain, but you'll notice it's like a rip going out. Well, it is a rip going out, but what happens is the wave comes in and it pushes out in a certain spot. So you'll get these crescents on the beach where the waves are sort of coming up in a crescent, and then they'll flow out either side. That actually acts a bit like we'd look at a gold sluice where gold drops in a creek. So as soon as it sort of washes out, there's a low pressure zone where the heavies will drop out just where the water starts to get deeper. Now, I'm not advocating people get into rips and go for a swim and end up having to be rescued with their metal detector. Not that at all. But on some of those gutters where they flow out, quite often that's where those heavies will drop. So I just got to get a water here. So that's something to look at. So right, feel free to say hello. For those that don't know, I'm Ben from Gold Diggers. We do this every Friday night, and we pick a different subject. And since I'm down here on the beach, thought we'd do beach detecting and some tools. Next week we'll get into what tools we use in what situations, because they're different, and you know what we do with bits and pieces we use. So we might just jump straight into that now. Excuse me here, I've got to have a drink of water. So, first off is a sand scoop of some description. So, a sand scoop is really good because you can actually, g'day Dennis from the UK. The beauty of a sand scoop is you can dig the target out and then shake the sand out of it, and it leaves the target in the scoop. So, pardon me. So that's very, very good. The sand scoops are fantastic. Now, they come in a number of different varieties. This is just a handheld one. I meant to throw a Garrett one in. They do some steel ones, which I actually think are better than this triangular design. They're an oval shape. They're a bit more shaped like this one. They're a bit more that shape, round shape, Garrett's ones. I think they're a bit better than that triangular one. Excuse me here, got a frog in my throat. The round ones are probably a bit better. Some of them will actually have a triangular shape here instead of being completely round. I actually probably prefer those, but these are a good thing. Some people will just use a little shovel, little Jeep shovel or something along those lines, and dig the hole out that way. I like using this fella. This fella, I'll step back a bit here. It's on a long handle. So what I actually do there is I'll get a target. I will dig the target, right, and actually take that scoop of sand out behind me and see whether it's in the scoop with the metal detector. That way it saves the knees a bit from having to bend down all the time. And if the target's in the scoop, it's just a simple matter of shaking all the sand out of it, and away you go. So that's scoops for you. I'm actually not really happy with this at the moment. I've got a hardwood handle on this. While it's durable and I'll never break it, geez, it's heavy. So someone mentioned to me that you can go and buy carbon fibre fairly cheaply. So I might try a carbon fibre handle on it. So Dennis from Northampton, the UK. G'day Dennis, good to have you here. Must be early in the morning there. Paul from Tassie, g'day Paul. Make sure you say g'day, guys. It's nice to know I'm not. You know how lonely I get. I get when no one's talking to me. So they're sort of scoops. I like the Garrett one. Garrett make a good square one that's plastic. The beauty of the plastic one is you can wave it over the machine and see if there's a target there. So that's a fantastic scoop. I don't tend to work that way, but you know, Beck. But yeah, so that's a good way to work it if you like that. Of course, the old trusty pinpointer. Sometimes you just can't find a target with a scoop, particularly when you're doing it with a long handle. G'day Joe, how are you going? Drew's here. G'day Drew, how are you going? Andy, Portland, Victoria. G'day Andy. Yeah, Rodney says PVC might work for a handle. It might, mate. I just think it might be a bit flexible. So I don't know. I'm worried that I'll go to buy a bit of carbon fibre and it'll be $800 for a handle. So that's the worry with the carbon fibre. So I always have a Pro Pointer with me. I like the Garrett one. We're doing, in the new year, we're doing a, well, it is the new year, but in coming weeks I'm waiting for the F-Pulse Pro Pointer to come out to test, and we're going to do a big test on the different types of pro pointers. I've got about six different ones in the shop at the moment. So we're going to do a test on those and see what's good and what's not, sort of thing. But this is hard to beat because it's waterproof for 3 metres. The new one that's coming out is actually pulse induction, I think. But I'm waiting on some information on it. So yes. So always have that. I always have a bottle of water with me, and always have a fines pouch on my belt. My belt, I wear a belt that's got a pick holder in it, and I just mount my pro pointers and all that sort of stuff on it. There's 2 options when you come to those sort of belts that you wear. You can get a lot of the pouches come with a belt on them, which is great. I tend to like, because I'm wearing a heavy pick, I tend to like a leather belt. I get my belts from I think it's Double D Leather. They're down in Victoria, and they're specifically made for metal detecting, and they're just robust. I've had this one for like 3 or 4 years, and I use it a lot, so it's fantastic. So that's what I do. And this belt, I use this belt for the beach. I use this belt for gold detecting. I wear this belt. It doesn't look stupid, so I can wear this belt in the park. And the other thing with belts is tool belts from like places like Bunnings and those sorts of places, the hardware stores. Often they do a good belt sort of thing. These Double D belts aren't cheap, but I actually got bought it as a gift. So ever since then I've loved it. So, but yeah, so that's a standard thing, and we'll go into that again in a bit more detail sort of thing. Next week I'll be able to lay all my gear out on the table and show you different bits and pieces that I take with me. So that's why we're only doing the beach stuff tonight. So the other things, what else do I use? Really, that's about it. Obviously I use a detector. At night, I tend not to use headphones. I feel a bit disconnected with my machine. During the day I wear headphones all the time. So that's the that's the compromise I do. Like when you're particularly in a remote beach and there's no one around, I just get a bit unnerved if I can't sort of hear what's going on or see what's going on, sort of thing. So, right, let's catch up on some of these people. G'day Jordan, Andy's here. We've covered Andy already, but Andy, you're so special, we got you twice. Nadia, what's the etiquette if you come across someone else detecting on the beach? I always go up and say g'day. You can sort of tell whether they want to be interrupted or not. Places like the Gold Coast can get a bit territorial, simply because some of these blokes reckon they own the beach and they don't. So, I always, whatever, mate, head off in a different direction, sort of thing. There's a lot of beach down here, so it's not like you're, people think they own the place. So, but I always try and say g'day. You meet some good friends, and well, I've met a few good friends that way. I've met some pelicans that way, so that's what it is. So yes, Jimmy's here. Bernadette, g'day Bernadette from Bendigo. Michael, are you still here? I'd like to know how you went out at Warwick today. Michael texted me, and this is an open invitation to anyone. If you're going to an area that I know, like I know a lot of southeast Queensland, I know bits and pieces of New South Wales and Victoria sort of thing. If you're going to places like Michael did today, he was heading out to Warwick, and he just texted me this morning and said, right, what's the best way? I'm just learning. What's the best spots? And I sent him to a couple of spots, sort of thing. How to set your machine up, all that sort of jazz. So I was able to hopefully help Michael find a bit of gold today. So yeah, so anytime, hit me up on Facebook. Then my mobile number's on the website, anytime, or on Facebook. So, and I'll help you out wherever I can. So, g'day Shona, how are you? Santa left our 6-year-old a Minelab 60. It's good machine, good starter machine. So you'll have a lot of fun with that, Shona. So hey Paul, can you post a picture of the belt after the show or tomorrow, please? No problems, Nicole. It's just a very simple belt. Actually, I won't get too undressed here, but I can probably just, there we go. So, it's just a wide leather belt. You can see it's got a built-in pick holder on the side. So that's just a little pick holder there that the pick sits in. Fines pouch. Sometimes I use a zip-up pouch, or I normally have a zip-up pouch on this, and then a pinpoint holder. I do add things and take things off this belt, depending on where I'm going. So, for instance, if I'm out in the bush, I'll definitely have a snake bite kit and a bit of emergency stuff there in case I ever get turned around or what have you. And I also, in that pouch, I put the vials if I do find a bit of gold or whatever. So that's sort of my basic belt. And Double D leather, like I've had that for years and it's been a phenomenal thing. So the Pro Pointers start at $99. Who asked that? Jordan asked that. So Pro Pointers start at $99, and you wouldn't pay any less for it. Like the Bounty Hunter one, it works. You need to be right hard on the target before it actually gives you a signal. I don't like it, but you know, it's a $99 pinpointer. So then they can go up to sort of $270. Like the Deus one's about $270. It's phenomenal, waterproof. The Garrett one that I use is about $240, something like that. Again, waterproof and phenomenal. So yeah, the better quality ones around that $200 mark, over that $200 mark. So yeah. So Ricky's here. Thanks to Cole. David actually has posted the link to that Double D leather. So thanks for that, David, and have a look at that because they're good gear. Like a lot of the gear I use, I don't even sell. Like I don't sell those belts. So you know, but I use them and they're great quality belts. So that's why I mention them, sort of thing. So oh, good. Michael did have a good day out, but didn't get any bowls. Still learning all the crazy sounds. Yeah, VLF machine out there in the bush. You dig. Spend some time with it and dig a lot of targets so you know what's rubbish and what's not. And out in the goldfields, you're best just to dig every target. Like, I know that sounds mad. You dig rubbish all day, but until you really get to know the machine, and like I mean really get to know it, like back to front, dig them all. That's the way you got to do it with gold. And realistically, on the beach, the best success I've had on the beach is with a pulse induction machine, like an ATX or an Infinium. I've got an old Infinium that I use occasionally. I'm quite often testing new machines out when I get down here on the beach. But that Infinium's phenomenal. But you know, you have to dig every target with those pulse induction machines. So that would be my suggestion there. But just keep digging them, mate. You'll get there. So, g'day Marcus, how are you? Western Queensland, there's stacks of interesting stuff out in Western Queensland, Marcus. Yeah, so the stacks of interesting stuff in Western Queensland. I've got a lot of information on it. Probably hard to really go go into too much detail at the moment. But yeah, so sorry, just had to adjust the light there. I think I'm getting dim. So, yeah, so there's stacks of stuff. Let me take this headlamp off actually. So there's stacks of stuff from Western Queensland. So quite often you can, yeah, quite often there's a lot of gear out west, sort of thing. So I can probably go into a bit more detail with that over email or something like that. Let me just adjust this light here because I think I'm losing my main light. Here we go. Well, that's a bit bright. So right, so yeah, so Western Queensland, that's it. G'day Johnny, how are you? Rodney got a 1925 broken end penny, having it valued now. Yeah, well, I don't know what the value of some of those coins are. I've got the coin book with the latest values on them at home. I could probably look that up. But the problem with some of those coins is, particularly those unique ones, it's really dependent on what the quality of them is. If the quality is excellent, you can really, there's a lot of money in them. So it really depends on the quality. And so the coin people you're getting to look at, they're probably the best people to look at there. But you can buy a book. It's a Rennick's Guide to Australian Coins, and it gives you values, and they bring one out every year. They give you values of what each coin's worth. So, Henny's been out to Warwick last week, did not find any gold, but found lots of bullets. There's a lot of bullets out there, Henny, don't worry about that. Michael, that's the biggest thing, ironstone. Ironstone out at Warwick there, if you get a target, right, and you've got it out of the hull, that ironstone, you can quite often hit it with a magnet. If you get a little rare earth magnet and put it on your pick, right, you can get, you can pull that ironstone rock out of there, and away you go again. You know if it's magnetic and the magnet picks it up, you know it's a waste of time, sort of thing, and the target will disappear. So there's a little bit of a shortcut for you. No, Michelle. Michelle's talking about pushing people out of the road if they're interfering with your detecting. Absolutely. Right. So the other thing I forgot to mention is the headlamp. At night I use a really good headlamp, and it's really handy I don't use it all the time. I'm quite happy with this AT Max or the Infinium that I use on the beach a lot. The AT Max has got a backlit screen, so happy days. And then the Infinium, there's not too much to see on it, but I always have a headlamp because you never know who's wandering around, or you might want to have a decent look at something when you're digging a hole. So that's always good. Michael, that's the trick to it. Michael here talks about he being out in the bush on his own, and he didn't want to go too far into the bush, and that's probably safe practice, Michael. Although I do it, that's another thing I add to my belt is a locator beacon when I'm out in the when I'm out on my own and I'm in a remote area and there's lots of snakes. I do like that personal locator beacon. I don't like to use it. I've never used it I've never used it, but if I'm lost, you know, I don't often get lost, but you can get lost, and you know, a good sit down for 10 minutes is the best thing when you get lost. But just think that out there at Warwick, if you're walking away from the car for like an hour, you know, there's no foam reception out there. You get tagged by a brown snake, things can probably turn pretty nasty pretty quickly. So I do like to have that security of that personal locator beacon. Just to be on the safe side. I always wear big snake chaps when I'm out at Warwick, and particularly when I'm on my own. In winter, even in winter, and I'm on my own, I'll wear snake chaps, simply because if I get tagged out there and I'm 20 minutes from the car, you know, then 10 minutes to drive the car the highway to get phone reception, then it's 30 minutes for an ambulance to come out to some of the gold fields. Geez, an hour in with a big brown bite, or you know, things could get turned bad pretty quickly there. So, right, so who have we got here? G'day Greg, how are you? Justin, yeah, Michael and Ken. Michael says it all looks the same out at Warwick there. It's a lot of those gold fields are. It's rocky, scrubby country, so it's, you know, nothing much grows, nothing much changes. It's all pretty good. So yeah, David, I've just been. I've had a couple of decent snakes. David keeps his nugget scoop in his snake gaiters, so he never forgets to put them on. Yeah, I actually have a bit of a funny thing with that as well. I got a backpack in the back of my ute that stays in the back of my ute all the time. It's got all my gear and it's got my pick and everything in it. But I actually, when I'm going out detecting, I'll plug the fridge in, and when I plug the fridge in, I'll actually grab the gaiters out of the bag and I'll put them on the on the floor of the car on the driver's side, and so I know I've got them there all the time. So yeah, so it's you just learn those habits, and you just want to make sure, like, you know, there's been nothing worse than getting out there and find yourself in trouble, sort of thing. So, right, anyone got any other questions? So just to give you an idea as well, I don't know how well this will work, but AT Max is my favourite beach machine, right? For anyone who's got an AT Max, let me just turn it on here. I know there's a few people that have got AT Maxes. Let me just turn on. I'm looking at it from a funny angle here. So let me just turn on the backlight. Right, can you see that there? Probably not. Let's turn that light off. That might help us there. We're in the semi-dark now. So I run mine in it's at all metal mode. But what I'll do is I'll run the discrimination. No. What am I doing here? Looking at it the wrong way. I'll run my sensitivity right up high, like that. I'll turn it down for the moment. And then I will turn my... And I'll turn my iron discrimination right up high. Let me see if I can get in here. So, it's back to front. But I run my iron discrimination up to 44, right? And on all metal mode, you can run it flat out on the beach, in wet sand, in dry sand, doesn't matter, right? This isn't ground balance, that's why it's kicking off. And it doesn't matter. You can just run it out of ground balance, doesn't matter. And it's a beautiful quiet machine for a VLF machine. So let me just hook this light back up here so everyone can see me. There we go. So that's how I run it. So yes, right. So oh, Josh has just got back from Charters Towers. G'day Josh, how are you? Hope you had some fun out at Charters Towers. And Nicole, the AT Max is fantastic. Mick's got one coming on Monday, so that's just fantastic. So, righto, so So what we might do is we might just go down and have a look here. I don't know quite how this is going to go. So if I drop you in the water, my apologies. We'll just get rid of that thing. And we'll just wander down here. I'll just pick you up and, well, people wandering past here sort of thing, so we're just wandering down here now. I don't know whether you can see the surf there, but I hope the noise isn't too bad. It's a better view of surface there. Geez, the water's so warm tonight, but you can see down through here, there's probably not a whole lot of, this is a fairly straight beach here, so there's probably not a whole stack of, let me just get this light here, there's probably not a whole stack of, I don't think this is going to work, to be honest with you, with the waves running in, but so in this surf zone, we're at fairly low tide at the moment, and in this early surf zone where the waves are just coming in and out, this is sort of the gun spot that I like to get into, because this is where all the rings are. This is where all the good heavy finds are as people go into the water. I hope the audio's fine, guys, because we're right in this little surf zone here. Well, now my shorts are wet. So this is the sort of area I like to get into, and it's just a phenomenal little spot. A lot of their beaches, I'm actually just going to get out of the water here as I drop that in. But a lot of the beaches are these beaches. So, for instance, I'm at Phillip Park at the moment. Just to make sure I don't walk into anyone here. I'm at Phillip Park, just out the front of Phillip Park at the moment, and the detecting down here at Phillip Park particularly is not very good unless you go up to the recent drops up the top here, where people lay their towels down, simply because it's not a very heavily populated beach. Let's get surface in the background there. So it's not a very heavily populated beach. It's actually quite a quiet beach. If you wanted to get into some really good areas, you need to go night time and you need to head down to surface. We're at the front of some of these resorts, like the Sheraton here. Broadbeach is good. There's a lot of good places. Even some of the more obscure beaches, like not necessarily obscure beaches, but like the Spit is fantastic. I love going to the Spit because lots of surfers there, lots of people sitting on the beaches, and it is rammed during a busy summer's day because it's beautiful up there. It's all bushland and beach and what have you. And in every place you go, you're going to have similar things. You're going to have busy beaches like surfers, right? And it might be, right, like if we're talking Byron Bay, you know, the Byron Bay beaches are good, but then there's the surf beaches, and then there's, you know, more obscure beaches. Like, and everywhere around the country will be exactly the same. Everywhere around the world will be exactly the same. There's stacks and stacks of these really heavily populated beaches around Australia. And night time is by far and away the best time to come down here and have a crack, because so many people congregate there. And Dig for Treasure says, talks about it here, that there's quiet beaches are quite good. I find quiet beaches are phenomenal because everyone goes to surface and detects out the front of surface, or Currumbin, or wherever in my area, sort of thing. So a lot of the detector people don't hit these quieter beaches. This one here has just got nothing going for it. So it's got a car park, it's a crappy walk up to the beach, and there's nothing going on here. There's there's no lifesavers, there's none of that. So, yeah. So, Dig for Treasures there asked for, what's your name anyway, Dig for Treasures? Don't you get millions of sinkers? Yeah, you get a few. Most people at the Spit are fishing further out. There's not a lot of fishing goes on at the Spit, but you do get any beach you'll get an occasional sinker. So, and I find that sinkers or anything lead is a good idea of how you're actually going with it, detecting, because lead sounds exactly the same as gold, exactly the same as gold to a metal detector. So if you're finding lead, happy days. So yes. So right, how long have we been going for here? Let's have a look here. 45 minutes. We might call it quits there tonight, guys, unless there's any quick questions. While I'm out, I might actually have a run around and have a bit of a detect myself. I haven't had a chance. So yeah. Josh asked, do you dig over a metre down on beaches? Oh, look, it'd have to be pretty rare. With the Infinium, with a pulse induction machine, it'll go that far, but it needs to be a big target. But really, you're not digging that deep most of the time, sort of thing. So, yeah, Jeremy, sinkers are everywhere. A lot of people use sinkers in slingshots as well, so you find them everywhere. So, yeah. Righto, Mad Matty's here. Good to see you, mate. Righto, so I might call it quits tonight, folks. Thank you very much. We're back in the studio next week. We're going to go through all of my gear. I'm going to pull it all out. I'm going to lay it out on the table. We're going to have a look at exactly what I use. Graham, how much do you drink before you post this? I don't drink anything, Graham. So maybe I should. Maybe that's his point. Maybe I should have a few before I get on here. So yes. So. Okay, so I'm going to call it quits there. I'll answer your questions later on tonight or tomorrow. So keep asking questions, and we can go from there. So, okay, thanks very much. I'll see you all next week.